Hello, and thank you for joining me for part 6 of Allotment Diaries. I'm Rachel from I Planted That, and welcome to a rather windy day on my allotment in the southeast of England. You can follow me on TikTok and Instagram at I Planted That for weekly updates of what happens on the allotment. But today is a specially recorded segment for the virtual village hall to let you know what's happened over the last month on my allotment. We're well into the winter now with short days and very cold nights. But not much is really growing apart from the peas and beans that I sowed last month. They have sprouted, consequently been eaten by mice. So I'll be resowing them today and also making sure that I protect them really well so they don't get eaten again. But because not much else is growing, it's a really perfect time to put my seed order in. So that's what I'm going to be doing first, but not from my allotment. I take the opportunity to do that indoors with a hot chocolate by a fire.
I've got a good idea of what I'll be ordering, but if you're starting from scratch, then it's a good idea to make a list because seed catalogues can be quite overwhelming. I find it useful to use these headings. What I eat a lot of, what's expensive or almost non-existent in the shops but are actually really easy to grow, and then something unusual that I'd like to try. Now, if you're ordering flowers as well, then split your page into colours, then height and flowering time. That way you'll know where to plant them in the borders, the front or the back, and you'll have colour all year round. I keep my seeds in a cool, dark place. Now, some of these packets I opened last year, but will still be absolutely fine this year. You'll know that because they'll have a date on the back for when to use them by or to sow them by. Even if they're out of date, there's still a good chance that they'll germinate. A good rule of thumb is to expect a 10% decrease in germination year on year. I'll also order seeds that I used up last year, and I know what those are because whenever I finish a packet, I pop it in a separate box so I don't forget what I've run out of. One of the highlights of this time of the year is ordering from the Heritage Seed Library. I'm a member of Garden Organic and I get the chance to order 6 packets of heritage seeds each year. Now, these heirloom varieties have been saved over generations, but they're no longer available to buy commercially. The Heritage Seed Library plays such an important part in preserving our cultivated biodiversity because today over half of the world's seeds are controlled by 3 large companies and many of these seeds are patented. So it's really important that we keep these heritage seeds alive. That said, my order from here is usually based on the interesting story behind the plant. I'll usually get a tomato, a legume, and then the rest are just things that I sound interesting or particularly like the story of. So my order this year is going to be melon. The variety is called green nutmeg. I'm getting an onion, which is like a perennial onion. That's called baton. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. This one I really don't know how to pronounce. I'm getting the Monge 2p called Roy de Caraboy Snow. I think that's how you say it. Then squash is Lady Godiva. Tomato, I'm getting an unusual potato leaf white. And lastly, the lettuce is going to be a salad mix made up of 3 heritage seed variety lettuces. Now, when they arrive, I will go through it and I'll tell you the stories behind each seed. An order I made back in early autumn came in, my seed potatoes. You may remember that I chose these in late autumn when it was lovely and sunny, or sorry, early autumn when it was still lovely and sunny. And you may remember that I chose a Rocket as my first early, Java for my main, and then Nicola as my salad potato. So I collected them one Sunday morning in the last month from the allotment shop, along with honey that's made from hives on the site. And my next job is to chip the potatoes. So this simply means preparing seed potatoes for planting by encouraging them to sprout before they're put in the ground. So I like to chip mine in egg boxes. Each potato has its own little seat that it sits in, and then I'll keep these somewhere cold and bright, like a shed, like on a windowsill of a shed. I actually keep them in my loft where it's actually bright but it's nice and cold as well. So unlike when you leave a potato at the bottom of the drawer and it ends up growing spindly long fingers, Chitted potatoes sprout lovely dark green leaves, which are said to help early varieties grow faster and produce a quicker crop. Now, I'm not sure how true this is. There are arguments for and against doing it, but I mainly do it because it means I can keep an eye on them and check they're not rotting or the shoots aren't going spindly. So that's what will happen to the mains and the salad potatoes. And then about 90% of the first early varieties, because I'll start off just a few of those in the greenhouse and hopefully get an extra early crop. I bought these bags about 10 years ago from a garden show, and they are specifically for this purpose. Because frost kills potato plants, I keep these in the greenhouse. Sometimes I might wrap them in bubble wrap for extra protection if it gets very cold, frosty or snow. So I start by putting compost just over halfway up. I'll water it well, and then I plant the seed potatoes about 10 centimetres deep. And I'm going to put just 3 potatoes into each of these bags. That's more than enough. That'll be enough room to get some really good produce. You'll notice that I've folded down the bag to make sure that they get a lot of light and they grow strong and healthy. And then as the plants grow, I'll add more soil, covering the plants over. And this is known as earthing up. It encourages the plants to produce more potatoes along the stems, which will then be under the soil because you've earthed them up. At the same time, I'll unfold the bag to make sure that it holds the soil in well and there's still a good amount of light. So there is a risk that if we do get very cold weather and I haven't protected them well enough, then the plants won't survive and I won't get a crop of potatoes this way. That's never happened so far, but I always think if it does happen and the plants die, then I haven't really lost a lot. It's worth doing it to get those extra early potatoes. You'll notice that most of this session is done indoors or in the greenhouse because it's so cold at the moment, and I won't be doing anything that's really strenuous, so I won't be keeping warm. So this is a nice little one to do if you've found, like I have, some daffodil bulbs, just the little tete-a-tete ones that were left just under some bags of soil that I had by mistake. And one of the best pieces of advice I've ever been given is just give it a go. When I took my allotment on about 19 years ago, I was stressing about the correct way to do something or other. And I remember asking my allotment neighbour, who had been gardening for many, many years, and she showed me how to do it. And then she said, look, just give it a go. If it all goes wrong, there's always next year. And I've been giving it a go ever since. So when I found these tete-a-tete bulbs, I decided that I should give them a chance and just give it a go. So let's see if they work. Again, if they don't, I haven't lost much. I'm not going to plant them very deep because they've already started sprouting. I'm going to put them pretty much on the surface of the soil, just bed them in well, give them a little water, and I'll leave them in the greenhouse, see what happens. They'll be perfect for either potting on into window boxes in the spring or just leaving just dotted around the patio or even my allotment, just in their own little pots. So winter is a good time to check your garden tools too. Any wooden handles can rot, and metal, if it's not stainless steel, can rust if you're not careful. So I just use a very stiff brush to take off any dried dirt and then a damp cloth to remove that dust.
I'll also be doing the same with my garden forks, just taking off all the dirt with a stiff brush, making sure that the handle is splinter free. If it's not, I can give it a quick sand with some very fine sandpaper. Just take all the dirt off and then oil that. So that's it for this month. That's what's been happening on the allotment. Thank you for joining me. Next month, I will be making more homes for the friendly bugs that come and visit and make their home here. And also I'll be preparing the ground for next year's beans. It's nice to look forward to warmer days, to the spring. They are coming, I promise. But in the meantime, if you can, wrap up warm, get outside, get planning and get doing things that you're going to benefit from in the spring, something to look forward to. Take care, and I will see you next time.